What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another FanDuel live stream. We're taking a look at some more NFL draft prospects. I'm Blaiden Kirk, and these are my top 5 wide receivers in the upcoming NFL draft. I posted them on Twitter, and if you haven't seen them already, well, then you should take a look, right? No, I'll tell you. My top 5 wide receivers in the upcoming NFL draft are number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously. Number 2, Rome Odunze. Maybe not as obvious, but I still think very apparent. I think there's 3 guys that are just like clear wide receiver 1 material. And then number 3 is Malik Neighbors, which some people have Neighbors above Odunze, whatever. And then at number 4 and at number 5 is where things get a little interesting for me. I'm a big fan of Xavier Legette. As many people have seen already, I made a TikTok about him, and I put it out in my top 5 list. Xavier Legette's my wide receiver 4. And then at wide receiver 5, I have Brian Thomas Jr., another LSU guy, but I think he's really good. Really put himself into that X role at LSU so that Neighbors didn't have to, right? It was a successful offense because of it. And really all we're going to do is just kind of go through each of these players, talk about why I have them where I have them where I do. And, for those that did not make the top 5, people have questions about A.D. Mitchell. Some people like Troy Franklin, though I think most people have cooled on him recently. Some people might have Xavier Worthy. So those are guys that we can talk about as well. If people want to, but I think my main objective is just to look at the people in my top 5. I've got some tape pulled up from some of their best not even their best performances, their most active performances, basically the games where they get the most targets, just so that we can have a large sample size of stuff to look at. Because we obviously can't look through every single game from these players, but we can at least take a look at, a half, because I want to get through. We have an hour. I want to get through as much as we can. I don't want to spend it all on Marvin or all on Rome or all on Neighbors. But if people have questions, people want to talk about stuff, obviously we can do that as well. I'm going to pull up my live stream on TikTok here too. Just give me one moment. Live. Yeah, but we're going to talk about my top 5 receivers in the upcoming draft class. Number 1, first up, is Marvin Harrison Jr. I've got this tape up from the Penn State game. I think he had 13 targets, 15 maybe. He had a lot of targets in this game. So this is definitely going to give us a holistic view of, who Marvin Harrison is. I think he's basically a perfect prospect. I would have him not just as the best receiver in this draft, but not taking into account positional value, I would consider Marvin Harrison Jr. to be the best player in the draft. So you can see we have him at the bottom of the screen here. For those who are watching on TikTok, I'm live on the FanDuel YouTube and on the FanDuel Twitch. We're going over my top 5 receiver prospects in the NFL draft. I posted the list on Twitter, so we're going over that list. But Marvin Harrison, bottom of the screen here. I mean, this happens pretty fast, so it's a really tight release here. Really wants to establish inside leverage. And this DB wants to get physical with him, which in college you're allowed to do. So this is something that really is only apparent in college, but the number of receivers that you'll find that you can judge very easily. I'm trying to think about how to say this. You can judge very easily how good a receiver is at dealing with contact because it's more prevalent in college. You can have hands-on receivers for longer within the rep. Marvin Harrison Jr. faces this contact pretty head-on, not afraid of him, throws him off as he breaks into this route, doesn't really let it hinder him at all, makes a nice catch on the sideline. Honestly, the biggest case for Marvin Harrison Jr. to be wide receiver 1 is that his quarterback is Kyle McCord. That should be the biggest. That should honestly be the biggest reason. But yeah, a lot of receivers here, they're not able to break off of this contact so easily. Pretty effortless there, and this is a good throw by McCord here. I don't want to slander McCord like on this rep in particular, but McCord was not a good quarterback for the Buckeyes this year. But that's a good throw and a good catch by Marvin Harrison there. Good route, too. Little run play here. Little screen. Not a bad blocker either. Not a great blocker. There's better receiver blockers in this class, I think. This is... He's at the top of the screen here. I'd probably try not to get himself killed by this linebacker that's fading out, but kind of tries to settle into the space a little bit here. McCord leads him a little further than he likes, but this is a good catch nonetheless. You don't really want to put this throw so high because this could be a hospital ball, right? Especially if he's led more. This could be a really hot. Do I follow baseball? I do not. And I won't pretend like I do, but what do I think about guys like Marv not doing the combine versus Odunze doing it? I think, well, the big criticism with Marvin was that not only did he not do the combine, here I'll transition back here. The big criticism with Marv was not only did he not do the combine, but he also didn't do his pro day, which people were like, well, why? Right? That doesn't make any sense. But I think about the biggest reason why people skip out on the combine is like they have nothing to prove, right? And I get that. Because the combine is in kind of an unpredictable situation, right? You're going to go out there and do drills as if you're a receiver, right? You're going to go out there and do drills with quarterbacks that you've never, caught a football from before. In theory, you could get hurt running the 40, like stuff could happen. Versus your pro day, which is mostly within your control. You can kind of do whatever you want. You can run a 40 in ideal conditions. You can get thrown to by guys that you're comfortable with. But Marvin not only didn't have anything to prove, so he doesn't have to do the combine, he also would then go to a pro day where he doesn't have the advantage of having a quarterback that he's familiar with. I guess Stroud was in attendance, so maybe Stroud would have thrown to him. But like, what Kyle McCord is gonna throw? No, he's in Syracuse, and I don't know if he would want Kyle McCord throwing to him anyway. It really just would not make a lot of sense for Marvin to do a pro day when the whole benefit of the pro day is that you're going to be in a comfortable, familiar situation. He wouldn't have that advantage of like getting to receive footballs from someone who he's not comfortable playing catch with, right? Per se. Stroud gassing it. That would have been cool, right? If Stroud went out there and was like, "Hey Marv, I'll throw you some." But I mean, Stroud's been in Houston, right? It's not like they've practiced recently. I think to me that's the biggest thing. Is like if I were Marvin and I'm like, well, it's either going to be like the backup from McCord last year, a freshman, or no one, right? I mean, that's the reality is like he's just not going to be comfortable in that situation as much as like Rome is, who is going to get thrown to by Penix, right? Or Neighbors, who has Daniels. Like every other receiver is going to have their quarterback throwing to them. And a lot of these receivers have quarterbacks in the draft, so they're pretty good. It's like even if Kyle McCord was there, I still don't know if Marvin would have done the pro day. Because McCord is not good, man. So I don't know how I am very pro I am very pro Marvin Harrison Jr. skipping out on the combine and his pro day. He had nothing to gain from doing it. And I just don't think the pro day would have helped him. Or I think the pro day could have also done just as much damage as a combine would have for him. But we'll get back to the tape here. This was a good catch. But this was almost a hospital ball because it was so high. Right? A lot of times you want those slants when you have a guy on his back. You kind of want those to be low and away. But he caught it, so nothing too much to criticize. It's kind of a this is almost like a triple option, right? Almost. But decent blocking here. Reads it. It's 4-on-2, right? He's got a guy behind him, guy coming through in between. And, he's got a couple guys out there blocking, but, this is 4-on-2 here as far as blocking goes. He gets as much as he can. See what we're talking about, man? And this was almost a disaster. Marvin is already off the ball. You don't want to throw this so far behind him. Because then if it falls, it could be a fumble. That's very scary. Do I think the Cowboys go after another receiver? I think they could. I'm not sure who would be there for them. Maybe Leggett, maybe Thomas, maybe Mitchell. There will be guys. I'm not sure exactly who. But they could. They might have other needs, though. They might want to, repair the offensive line a little bit. They might want to. I don't know. I guess I haven't given a whole lot of thought to what the Cowboys should be doing. I think their defense will probably be fine. I know they put the investment into the defensive line last year. I guess it depends on who's there. I think if Johnny Newton were there, they might take him. But I think if the best player on the board is a receiver, I could see them going receiver. And that kind of just goes for the back half of the draft. teams that made the playoffs or teams that were close to the playoffs, you're typically just going best player available, regardless of need. But sometimes you like to force need just a little bit. Just a little bit. Back to Marvin. Misfire on a screen here. He's at the top of the screen. Just a little drag route. McCord's trying to hit the seam. Wasn't open. He probably should have just hit Marv. Marv probably could have scored. Look at that, man. Not open. I mean, it's 1-on-1, so I guess you trust your guy to make a play here, but tough play to make. Where do you get college film? From Caddy's Cut-Ups. I'm not entirely sure where you look that up, whether it be... I mean, I know he's on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. So I know you can find him on Twitter, but you subscribe to his Patreon. I think it's like $5 a month, and you get access to cut-ups from every college prospect. If you're trying to watch, NFL draft film, it's a very good resource to do so. All right. Trips on the left side. He's the middle guy. So they just got him running like that slot fade. And really, I think he's just trying to clear out here to give space for number 4. Incomplete. 2x2, or not even 2, but just kind of like twins on the right side. He's the slot. They run it to the opposite side. So we'll skip on through here. Look at that. Great route, though. So I'm trying to see where this ball landed. Little outside of his frame here. Just a tick outside of his frame. Which is insane because he's 6'4". It's like just a tick outside. Very good route, though. This is kind of textbook out route. Because this is a quick route anyway. So what you can do, he buys a little bit of time just to kind of read the initial positioning of this DB. Pushes to his depth. Gets his hips open just enough so that he's reaching when he makes this break. Drops his hips. He's got separation here, but again, it's just like... just maybe a tick outside of his frame. I do also know that Marv supposedly suffers from concentration drops occasionally. So if there were a criticism, that would be it. But these routes are pretty nasty. The athleticism is about as good as it gets. Kyle McCord takes a sack here. 1-on-1 on the outside. Run. Why are they running the ball? You got Marvin Harrison Jr. Why are you running the... He wants Marv here on the slant again, just outside of his frame. Not sure what McCord is doing. I mean, this is as easy of a route as you get here, right? You don't want to run into coverage, right? You don't want to be in the same spot as another receiver. McCord just puts this outside of... I'm sorry. Brother on TikTok is asking me if I've ever considered getting into boxing. What are we talking about? I'd love to see Cincinnati move up to like 10 or 12 to get Bowers. I don't know if Bowers falls that far. That's because I look at like the Jets and I keep saying the Jets should trade up because I think there are too many teams in that top 10 that could use a weapon. I mean, there's at least 5, right? And there's 4 blue chip weapons. There's Marvin, there's Neighbors, there's Odunze, and there's Bowers. There's 5 teams that could reasonably take those guys before you even get to the Jets. I just don't know if you're getting one of those premier guys unless you're well within the top 10. Yeah, McCord overshoots this seam again. It's open. This one's open, and Marvin's open too. You've got two open seam routes. You got an open go route on the outside at the top of the screen too. Just terrible by McCord so far. Marvin's getting tackled mid-route. This is crazy. Jets give up like 10 and a fourth for Cincinnati's first and second. Wouldn't that be funny? I didn't sell out. What are you talking about? That's a great catch by 17. Another run. Let's get to like halftime maybe in this game. So we're already kind of 20 minutes in. I want to get to some of the other guys. This is good coverage here, kind of at the top of the screen. But this throw might be behind him. It might be one that he could catch, but this is... I wish I had the other angle to kind of really see where this ball is. I mean, he's won this rep as far as creating separation, and it's behind him here. McCord's not even under pressure. I mean, it's like catchable, but it's a good route, and it's just like a low throw that's behind him. When the DB is behind him. Sometimes I forget how bad Kyle McCord was this year. This is the thing, is like Marvin is the only receiver in this draft that is like dealing with quarterback play this bad. Every other one is going to have a guy get drafted this year. Marvin at the top of the... It's just more runs. At the top of the screen once again. Little corner route, ball's out before he even makes his break. But it's a threatening route as far as pushing vertical. They're kind of giving the exact same look here. But they run it this time. Bro, what is going on here? I mean, this is a horrible decision. In what world is this an open throw? Kyle, what are you doing? This has just become Kyle McCord hate. That's all. This throw is horrid. How did you not see 11 drop? He didn't even like show blitz or anything. He just lined up and just dropped. That's it. And he dropped right in the zone that you threw into. Like, what are you talking about? Roman Wilson had worse QB play. Listen, I'm not a big McCarthy fan, but he's better than Kyle McCord. This is a horrible decision. Jesus, man. What the heck? Oh my god. Oh my god. I think Marvin's getting like really held here. Yeah, and they called it. It's right there. Yeah, the jersey tug. Cuz I'm like his shoulder really dipped on that and I couldn't tell if he just tried to dip his shoulder or what, but I'm like that's a clear hold, the arms flailing and everything. Don't need any Oscar-winning performances for this. But again, Kyle McCord, you are the worst, man. Brother is lucky that wasn't a touchdown. All right, we got Marvin. And another run play here. Give my guy a bone real quick. There it is. This is not a good throw. I mean, maybe it's a fine throw. Actually, that's probably the best throw that we've seen McCord make. Not the best read, but a pretty good throw for the read. And then Marvin, what a heck of a catch. I mean, he's literally running into this DB as he makes this catch. I don't even know how he sees the football here. That's my question. It's like, how does he see this? Because he breaks, and I guess he just... I mean, that's concentration right there. If you're worried about concentration drops, this is as good of concentration as it gets. You run into the DB, keep your eyes on the football, and make the catch through contact. Again, okay, so we're not quite to halftime yet. He's so wide open here. What happened here? Okay, yeah, they just crushed this zone. Great play call. Let's see what he does after the catch. Nothing too crazy, right? Just picks up an extra, looks like 10, maybe 15. Catches it at the, 46. Gets to maybe the 41. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's got a million jerseys around him. If he scored a touchdown off of this, he'd be Tyreek Hill, right? Yeah, they wanted a flag on that one. Marvin might have earned a flag there too. I think they tugged on his arm though, not the jersey. Jesus, McCord. Anyway. Yeah, let's look at the rest of the receivers. We don't want to spend too much time just on Marvin. I think most people would agree with me that Marvin's number one. Odunze's number two. We don't have to talk about him too much. To me, Rome is, about as close to being the best receiver in this class as you could get without just being Marvin Harrison Jr. He would be a wide receiver one in most other years for me, and I think for a lot of people. He's the best contested catch guy. He's a dog when it comes to attacking the football in the air through contact. And he's got a very complete route tree. The one thing that you would really lose out on maybe is like the after the catch stuff, but I just like don't mind that so much. The only thing that I really care about, I think he's the best at attacking the football at the catch point in this class, and he's probably got the best ball tracking down the field in this class. Malik Neighbors would be next. Another guy that we could watch. Don't necessarily need to, though. Super dynamic athlete. Could be a wide receiver 1 in a lot of other classes. Very good after the catch. Very, very fluid route runner. Good hands. Like, just all around solid guy. Not a lot to criticize here. So those are the big 3, right? We don't have to discuss too much on that. We spent a lot of time on Marvin. We didn't really have to do that. We'll move on, though, to Leggett, who is my wide receiver 4. And we'll just kind of skim through this tape because this is the Georgia game. So the problem with Xavier Leggett and I think partly why a lot of people don't like him, but it also makes his film difficult to watch, is the South Carolina offense is extremely difficult. They have a lot of routes that kind of run into the same space. Not a very well designed offense. Think like Greg Roman Ravens, but with worse quarterback play, right? But as far as the skills that he brings to the table, I think it's very hard to find someone that does more of the things that I like. So over the last couple of years, I've become more and more infatuated with receivers that really dominate at the catch point. Leggett is that guy. I want guys that attack. I want guys that are attacking the football at the catch point, and guys that track the football well down the field. That's number 1, number 2. Route running is important, but it's easier to teach. I think the tracking, I think the aggressiveness at the catch point, that stuff is harder to teach, and it's harder to find. Right? But you think about the best receivers in the league, they're all good at it. So if I'm looking for a guy who like has that potential, that's what I'm looking for. Pretty good blocker. Again, there are better blockers in this class. Actually, Rome is a really good block. Rome Odunze is a really good blocker. We'll talk about Ladd McConkey a little bit. He's a really good blocker. But look at this. I mean, this is a stare down throw. He's not going through his progressions. He's just waiting for Leggett to look back, and then he's pulling the trigger on this throw. No matter what. Not particularly super open, but he just puts it high enough, and Leggett just says, yeah, it's mine. Gets the foot down. Great catch. That's Georgia, man. It's against Georgia. Yeah, but this isn't like a particularly well-designed route system. You've got like every route on the field going into the same air, like every route is flowing this way, and you got the quarterback staring down one side of the field, and you've got 2 DBs in the same area as Leggett, and he still makes this catch. And he's just like, I'm just gonna high point it and go get it. That's what we like to see. He's just staring down that side of the field again. I think he wanted Leggett this time, and then he was like, I'm not going to force it again. He probably could have, though. I mean, he had enough space from the underneath corner, and the safety was there, but Blaiden has Leggett as wide receiver 4 because he has the same accent as Randy Moss, so he must be. I haven't even heard Leggett talk, so I didn't know they had the same accent. I'm trying to even think about what Randy Moss sounds like. And I like cannot visualize it right now. Oh, look at the blocking. Not the best blocker. The best blocker in this class might be Ladd McConkey, honestly. But I like receivers that are willing and able blockers. It just makes them easier to get on the field. And I think NFL teams will like that. I like it. As opposed to like, well, I have to put you in a situation that is super ideal. And it's like, we have to force feed you the ball no matter what. And it's like, I just want to be able to run offense. And if like you're the best player, then that's fine. But, you know, a lot of these guys, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 receivers off the board, they're not going to be the best. They might not be the best player on their team. You know, some of them are going to go in the second round. It's like you might not get 100 targets. You might have to settle for, 60. It's just like, bad offensive line, quarterback that's taking like 7-step drops. Look at it for surprising, but you don't hate it. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just I think he attacks at the catch point in a capacity that a lot of other receivers don't. Keon Coleman's another guy in that vein that I think deserves a lot of respect for his skill set at the catch point. Maybe less so at FSU and more so at Michigan State. They just run like what is this route combo? What is this route combo? Hitch route and then a speed out. What is this route combination, man? There is no way that this was seen as an ideal route combo for this play. Either someone got the play wrong or this is crazy. Little screen, no blocking. Not surprised. Throw the ball. Anyway, we won't spend too much time on this. Legette's a great athlete. He attacks the catch point at a high level. I like it a lot because of that. My fifth guy would be Brian Thomas Jr. Actually, I don't remember if I can pull up Keon Coleman from Michigan State, but if I can, I would like to. So it'd be 21, right? Maybe it is 22. I don't remember which game this. We'll do Minnesota. We'll pull up Keon Coleman. Yeah, so this is Michigan State Keon Coleman. So a lot of people don't like Keon Coleman a whole lot because the numbers at FSU were bad, but you watch the tape at Michigan State and you'll probably get a good taste of what this guy can bring to the table. Not hard to spot the biggest guy on the field. Yep, bottom of the screen there. Just running the ball, though. Give my guy a bone. All right, biggest guy on the field. There he is. Bottom of the screen. They're throwing it. Not to him, but a good route here. He's a very good athlete. Just a little speed out. Actually, I probably dick rode that route a little much. All right, kind of top of the screen-esque. Oh, but he dropped it. No. Oh. Not quite where you want this. This is actually a great camera angle. Oh my God. Still could have caught it, but not quite where you want it. I just don't think he expected it there. Just trying to get some better clips. Damn, it's already 14-0. Get the ball out. What are you doing? Yeah, bro, these quarterbacks, some of them are terrible. Biggest guy on the field. That's the thing, he goes to FSU, and Theo's brought this up a lot. And he ends up being on the same field as Johnny Wilson, and it's like, these are the same guy. Like the same archetype. Oh, damn. Looks like it might have just been a little hitch route. Yeah. Nowhere to go. 17-0. Dog. We're 5 minutes into the tape. They're getting crushed. Anyway. Number 5 is Brian Thomas. Bro had 1 billion touchdowns this year. This is an explosive offense. And he filled kind of the role of that X-receiver that, you know, people saw neighbors line up in the slot a lot. This is why, because you have a guy that can line up on the outside and take the top of the defense. That's not him, but LSU receivers, they're usually pretty good. He's number 11, so he's in the slot here. Daniels. Oh, Daniels. Gets the ball batted at the line. More runs. More runs. Could be the problem with watching these receivers sometimes is they just don't always get the ball. I tried to pick games where they got the ball a lot, but I can only control so much, man. Give me a break. And Daniels likes to run the ball a lot and take a lot of hits. And slips on this route here. It's okay. It happens. I forgive you. And this is that play. So we'll skip past that. $14-0. All right, got top of the screen here. Brian Thomas. They throw to Neighbors on the other side. We like Neighbors. Not mad at it. Top of the screen once again. They go to Neighbors once again. Great guy to go to. Rare Jaden Daniels pass over the middle. I just want to see if I can just pull up the play where... That was a great thing about the Leggett tape. I got to show exactly what I wanted to show on the first play. Brian Thomas, however, I gotta really flow through. Here we go. That's it. I think he caught this one. I can't remember if he got this one or not, but I know he has a few contested attempts in this game. So it looks like they did give it to him. So yeah, I mean, this is textbook stuff that Brian Thomas can do for you. But this is also, I need to make this point, this is also the most common route concept that you will see in college football. All right, the inside fade, hitch on the outside, right? DB actually plays this really well, and this is what makes Brian Thomas so good and why I like him. Catch point, man. Catch point. Attack the ball at the catch point, bring it to your body. This is a difficult catch to make. A lot of receivers would not make this catch. Brian Thomas does. Rome Odunze does. Marvin Harrison does. Xavier Leggett does. All right, those are the kind of plays that you get from Brian Thomas Jr. And so you can kind of see the vein of receivers that I really like. I'm not a big fan of Worthy. Like tiny, fast receivers just don't enthuse me a whole lot. Though Tank Dell has been a success in the NFL, many would say. And then Adonai Mitchell's another big name who I like a decent amount. I think he's got a good skill set. I had this route pulled up from earlier because I knew I wanted to show it. This is a really nice route. He's definitely got some elements of like CD. He's got maybe some Jefferson in, like he's got some big time wide receiver one aspects to his game. But he's also, and this is not something that I like to point at because it's a lot of receivers do it where, you know, if they're not the number one guy on the field or if they're not the one getting the ball, sometimes they take plays off. But it feels like Mitchell does it more often, and it's concerning in that regard. I also think he can be a little bit of a body catcher when it's not necessary. And this is something that, like, if you watch highlights of guys, those are supposed to be like the best that they can offer. And I feel like I find more flaws in Mitchell's highlights than I do in a lot of the other top receivers in this class, and that's concerning to me. There's a play against Oklahoma State, which this is the TCU game, so I'm not going to go and rummage for it right now. But he makes a really, it's a good route. He gets open, good catch. Cuts back, has a lot of space. It's a good move after the catch. But he gets caught, like trips up on what I thought should have been a touchdown. So there's just certain things, and maybe I'm nitpicking, and I just like certain guys, and I've been enthused by certain guys, but this might be something where I'm willing to be wrong on, where I think there's 3 receivers that are like a clear top tier blue chip guys, and then there's a couple, and then I just kind of pick the guys that I like the most and go from there. And maybe that's an archetype thing. But like, that's something that I'm willing to be wrong on, I think, is if I'm picking Leggett and Thomas over Mitchell because of archetype and style, I think I'm willing to live with that. One guy I do want to talk about, we've got about 10 more minutes because I know Bridget's going to go live for the March Madness stuff. Yes. Ladd McConkey, this will be, this is 9-minute tape here. Top of your screen here. Ladd McConkey is probably the best blocker and the best route runner in this class. And that makes him, in my opinion, really easy to get on the field. I think he is going to be good in the NFL. The level of what his ceiling is, I don't know, because I don't think he can line up outside. And I do see elements of him struggling to fight through contact. But his hands are good. His route running is very good. Probably the best in this class. And his blocking is probably the best in this class. And I think when you have those elements to your game, and he's a really good athlete. I mean, we saw his combine. He's super fast. I think he's just going to be a super easy guy to get on the field. He's going to be really easy, whether it's, obviously I think he's better than like a special teamer. But if it were to be on special teams or as a receiver, probably both. I just think it's like a guy that is going to be a successful weapon. But I just don't think he's going to like fight through contact well as like an X receiver. Like he's very solidly in like a slot role for me. Bottom of your screen here. So they line him up outside, but you see there's no press man, right? Straight zone here, cover 2, it looks like. He's so wide open. I mean, this play has gone on for a long time, so like, yeah. But this is what you want to see, right? When, things kind of start breaking down. How do you make yourself available? You got a lot of guys just kind of standing around on the backside. Coming back to the ball. They call this incomplete, but, this is good effort. Top of your screen again, off the ball. Right, this route he kind of gets a little tangled up, trying to come back on. Get a little bit of Bowers action in here too. It's almost not worth talking about tight ends. You might as well include Bowers in the list of receivers and just put him at... Bowers just becomes wide receiver 4 by default for me. I'm trying to get examples of the blocking by Ladd, but I thought it was... I remember this being a game that was really worth watching, but I am struggling to now find those examples. I should start drawing up my own cut-ups. I think that would be really useful. But here's an example of him, struggling through the contact a little bit. A DB gets hands on him, and we saw Marvin was able to really fight back, get guys off of him at the top of his route. Ladd's route kind of dies in that aspect. That's a good block right there. Just initiate some contact. Right. A lot of receivers don't even seek out the contact there. So the fact that he's willing to do that, that's another one. Again, a lot of guys don't even seek out the contact at all. And that's just to get the willing, right? So there's two aspects to receiver blocking, willing and able. So we've seen the willing, just the want to seek out contact when you're not, the guy on the play. That's a good route there. Push vertical. So first you realize that, oh, wait, I need to go back. This DB's got a lot of outside leverage, so we're going to say, okay, we're going to really threaten you outside, force you to stay out there, and then we'll push vertical, and then we'll come inside on this dig route. It's like good spatial awareness. But this is another example of just like the contact. This is not like heavy contact too. It's just like a little like jab, and it throws him way off. So that's my main concern, and I don't think it's nothing. It's definitely not nothing. But I think he's got really good. I think he's got really good skills. More of the contact stuff there. That's definitely the main concern for me with Ladd. Oh yeah, man. Browns are going 17-0. That's facts. But throwing a little screen to him there. Not really anywhere to go. Not a super open route here. This is really good coverage. Right, I mean, they've got a guy on him and a guy on top of him. It's not a bad route, though. Probably not his best route. But it's a good release. It's a really nice release. And you'd probably want to see this more as a plant than a than a breakdown, though. Got him lined up in the slot here. Another in-breaking dig route. Catches it at the 1. Isn't really able to fight forward to the goal line there. But it's a good catch. Secure it through contact here. Even though it's kind of an early ball, right? He's kind of still finishing through his break. And then they punch it in here. The 1. There's that contact struggle again. You get hands on him, it's an issue. So that's what I'm saying. He's got to line up in the slot. But we'll look at some numbers here real quick. There's Bowers. Good catch, good hands catch. Top of the screen, little jailbreak action. And then, so yeah, we'll bounce out of that real quick. Got a couple minutes left here. Just look at some numbers. Yards per route run against zone. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., 2 of the top guys up here. You got Jeff Foreman. Yards per route run against man coverage. Xavier Legette's number 3. And of guys with like substantial targets, he's the guy. Rome Odunze's up there too. Troy Franklin's up here, but Troy Franklin also has a very low contested catch rate and somewhat of a high drop rate, which is concerning to me. And we didn't get to look at him, but I think my concerns with him is he doesn't really track the football well down the field, even though I do think he's a pretty good route runner. And then we'll look at one other stat real quick. We'll just do receiving. And we'll go to 50% of targets. And now if we just look at we'll look at general yards per route run, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., again, Troy Franklin. I have my issues with Franklin. Legette's right there, who we just looked at. I like. Rome is there. No, I like. Brian Thomas is there. And then, but you look at like drop rate. Who's a guy that we don't want to see up here? Troy Franklin's the only guy that we've talked about that's kind of up here. Marvin is a little higher than you would like, but it's not 10%. So that comes to the concentration drops issue that, people have with him. Worthy maybe a little bit. Brian Thomas maybe a little bit. Contested catch. Go to contested targets. Keon Coleman. Again, the FSU stuff is tricky to go with just because he was objectively better at Michigan State. Marvin Harrison Jr. takes a lot of contested targets, mostly because the positioning of the throws that he gets is not ideal. So a lot of targets that should be open or should just be regular targets end up being contested just because of how the ball is placed, I feel like. Luke McCaffrey's kind of underrated. I would be very interested. It's not someone that I've given a ton of interest in looking at, but very, I think, underrated as far as where he's being placed or what he could be maybe. I think he could be pretty good. Rome Odunze, obviously 75% contested catch rate. He turns 50-50 balls into 70-30, right? He is that good. Neighbors is up there. Legette is up there in terms of target rate. And then as far as, their conversion, I mean, if you're above 40%, I would say you're pretty much in that range. Franklin's just outside of that. Worthy's outside of that too. But, 47, we got 43 from Marvin. Luke McCaffrey's at 60. Hey. But that's pretty much it. Again, the top 5 receivers that I have coming into the NFL draft this year, I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1, and I'll come back to this. Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1, Rome Odunze number 2, Malik Neighbors number 3. That's the big 3. I think those guys are wide receiver 1 material. And then Xavier Legette to me is late first round, could be really good. Brian Thomas to me would be early second round. Would be a great wide receiver 2, very maybe a T. Higgins type mold. And then there's some guys outside of that I like a little bit less. Mitchell and McConkey, and then Keon. Those would be the 3 outside of the top 5 that I'm interested in, but not as interested in as the other 2. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I really appreciate you all tuning into this. We'll be back next week, probably looking at corners, I'm thinking. We'll see. I'll let you all know on Twitter. You'll see, next week when I drop another position top 5. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. And until next time,